All right, so man, whew, long day at work yesterday. Still kind of tired from it. I mean, that's how long days go. If you work more than 8 hours, I've always said you spend half the time making up for it. So if you do like a 16-hour day, you're going to spend 8 hours in recovery. So I just did like around a 12-hour day yesterday. So it wasn't too bad, but I'm sort of still in recovery mode. And this is one of the problems with the job that I have is that very often I don't work a ton of hours, but I will work intensely in the hours that I have. So it can be very and then and suddenly I have a day off and it just doesn't seem like, you can do much. It's just you've got to recover. And that just kind of means you need to zone out and let your brain heal from the intensity that you've had for the last couple of days. Um, and I was much more tolerant of this when I was younger. It's just harder and harder to do as I get older and older, and the demands on me seem to be worse and worse. Like more responsibility, do more. Most of the people in my business get out of it. They become directors. They probably weren't very good at the technical side of it to begin with, or they were just beginning and they never really developed their skills as far as they could have. Um, Nor did they want to because they just seem to want to get out of the business of tech and get into something else. So one of the people that stuck it out for years and years and years got good at it, and then now it's like the demands are really on me. It's nice to know that at least in my job, they're training some other people and they're trying to like take over for it. But tonight, I'm off to an anti-Valentine's Day party with my good friend Danielle, and Caitlin will be there. I'll probably run into some other people I know. I'm going to bring the camera around so we can check that out. Hit the like and subscribe if you haven't already, and hopefully I'm going to get some footage for that, and we'll splice that in here, and we'll have that up later today. All right, Danielle, why an anti-Valentine's Day party?
Well, because one, I'm against the crash commercialization of Valentine's Day, and also blood diamonds. To be honest, I don't know if it's because I had a bad upbringing or because it's like my parents are divorced. I'm not one to date. I'm a love 'em and leave 'em type.
Oh, well, I know that pretty well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so here we are with Mike Mascarello. Here he is. So what are you working on these days?
Well, I'm working on writing a book. Originally I was writing 2 books and I realized I couldn't do that because it's taking up too much energy. So I'm writing a book and it's an anthology. I call it Tales from the Other Side of My Head, an anthology of interests. And it's an anthology of short stories, prose, and some poetry, all in a fantastical bent. So far so good. I've been working on it for a while, but I'm constantly trying to move forward with it. And it's kind of a slow process, but I'm making a lot of good progress. My next project I want to be is an audio play. I've been fascinated by audio plays that my grandfather told me about when I was a kid. Or audio plays, audio dramas, radio plays, what have you. He used to listen to them all the time. He told me about them. And I thought, like, wow, I don't know what this stuff's like. One day my parents bought me this record called Lancelot and the Knights of Camelot, which was an audio drama. I would just sit there and listen to it. Of course, it was a record, so you had to use your imagination to to picture what was going on with what, and the battles, the characters interacting with each other. And I really, really enjoyed that. And I thought to myself, maybe one day I can do this. I kind of, after that, I got a tape recorder out of my that my parents had. I put these blank tapes into it, and I record myself telling stories. I tell stories about, like magic fish and knights and warriors and dragons and other stuff. And I would just make it up as I go along. Sometimes Mom would bring me to work, and I would sit there in a corner with the tape recorder, and I would tell stories on it. One day I looked up, and there were actually a bunch of little kids listening to me. I didn't notice them. I did a quick double take, and there was like 4 or 5 kids there, like 4 or 5 years old, a little younger than I was. And I stopped, and I looked at them. They looked back at me, and one of them squeaked, "Then what?" And I said, "Then what?" And he said, "Then what happened to Batman?" My parents thought I had a really good talent for ability. Since then, I thought maybe sometime in the future I could make an audio play or something of my own kind. They still make those over in Europe and in Japan. I've listened to a couple of European ones. I haven't seen or heard of the Japanese ones. I don't really understand the language, so I wouldn't really be able to follow it. My idea is for something that a short story I written many years ago was called Super Robot Force Kazari, which is inspired by stuff I grew up with, namely giant monsters fighting giant robots. I grew up in the 80s watching Voltron and Transformers. When I got older, I discovered other titles like Mazinger Z, Getter Robo, and more modernized versions like Gravion, various Getter Robo sequels, Goran Lagann, and several others. The story was for a writing class I was taking in college. I got an A on it, and I thought, hey, this is pretty good, I can expand on this. And I started getting to work expanding on it, and I thought I can make this into a series of novels if I wanted to. And then I thought, wait, why don't I make this into not just a novel, but an audio play? That sounds like a good idea. I didn't know anything about scripting. So I decided that the best thing I can do is research. So I started listening to more and more audio plays and paying attention to what happens, what they're talking about. Excuse me. Some audio plays give out too much information about what's going on. Some don't give out enough. Some are very simplistic. Some are like they all have their own they all have their own flavor. Like everyone has their own writing style. I'm just trying to find out what mine is going to be. Well, I've actually written down a few pieces of dialogue for it, namely character interaction. Right now, I'm thinking like, how would an action scene work in an audio play? Because in a movie or television show, you actually see that on screen, everything happening. But when you're doing an action scene and you're just listening to it, how does that work? Is somebody that's supposed to narrate it or something? Is it gonna be like, and now I'm gonna punch you in the head like this, boosh, and now I'm gonna kick you in the face, boom. And is it gonna be like that, which is kind of hammy and wouldn't really work up to modern sensibilities, or be more like something else, just like a bunch of sound effects of people fighting each other. Then it stops, and you hear someone fall down, and someone else says, "Hey, he's dead!" I don't know. That's the difficult part, which I'm trying to master right now.
All right, so wrap this up. If people were going to want to try to check you out, how would they do it?
I don't really have any vlogs or private channels or anything. I just have my simple Facebook page, Michael Mascarello at Facebook.com. And that's the only real media I have. I do put up many of my stories up there from time to time. You're going to probably have to check them out in the notes section or something.
Cool. All right, man. We'll put this up for one of the vlogs probably do this early tomorrow.
Okay, thank you very much.
Cool. All right.